I decided to start on my summer TBR, and I've kind of chosen, I believe, 21 books, but I'm not gonna share all 21 books with you into this video. I'm gonna split them up into kind of like a 3-part series. Once I film all of these videos with 21 books, I'm going to wrap them, and in June, July, and August, I'm gonna do kind of like a blind TBR, but from these 21 books. So I know that these books I've already chosen for my summer read, and all of the books that I pick are mostly romance, I think, with like some summer theme in the title or throughout the book. So I think it's gonna be an exciting one. Hi friend, my name is Sarah and welcome back to my channel, and let's just jump right into it. So the first book that I have is the second book of the Summer I Turned Pretty series by Jenny Han. This one is called It's Not Summer Without You, and this is kind of like a continuation of the story from the first book. I'm not gonna say too much because I know if you haven't read the first book, this is gonna be a spoiler, like whatever it says in the back of the book. But since I read it and actually read the first book in one day, I decided to continue on this series with adding the second book in the series for my summer TBR. I'm waiting until I finish all of the books in the series to watch the show. I know that the third and last season of the series is coming out in June or July, so hopefully around that time I'll be able to finish this book and the third book, and then I can watch, kind of like basically binge watch the whole episodes of the whole series. I'm excited. The next book that I have is from Emily Henry, and it's called The Happy Place. I feel like almost all of Emily Henry's books, you can probably read it throughout the year, but I feel like it's just the perfect summer read. And I've heard so many good things about Happy Place, and I've had this in my personal library for a few months now, and I decided to pick it up and read it for the summer. Harriet and Wynne have been the perfect couple since they met in college. They go together like salt and pepper, honey and tea, lobster and rolls. Except now, for reason they're still not discussing, they don't. They broke up about 5 months ago and still haven't told their best friends, which is how they find themselves sharing a bedroom at the main cottage that has been their friend group's yearly getaway for the last decade. Their annual respite from the world, where for one vibrant, blissful week, they leave behind their daily lives, have copious amount of cheese, wine, and seafood, and soak up the salty coastal air with the people who understand them most. Only this year, Harriet and Wynne are lying through their teeth while trying not to notice how desperately they still want each other. Because the cottage is for sale, and this is the last week they'll all have together in this place. They cannot stand to break their friends' hearts, so they'll play their parts. Harriet will be the driven surgical resident who never starts a fight, and Wynne will be the laid-back charmer who never lets the cracks show. It's a flawless plan if you look at it from a great distance and through a pair of sunscreen-smeared sunglasses. After years of being in love, how hard can it be to fake it for 1 week in front of those who know you best? So this one has kind of like a fake dating trope, small circle of friends, friend group. I'm assuming, I don't know how many people are in this like circle of friends, and I am so excited to hopefully enjoy this book and finish this book and can finally make my way through all of the Emily Henry's books that I have. Let me know again in the comment below if you have read this book, and like I said, I can't wait to read this summer. The next book that I have is one by Ellen Hilderbrand. I've never actually read any of Ellen Hilderbrand's books, but I feel like in the book internet community, everybody agrees that her book is like the epitome of beach or summer read. Especially if you look at the cover of her books, it looks like this: people having fun at the beach in the summer. So I added the 5-star weekend into the first part of my summer TBR list, and hopefully this would be a great one to read this summer. Holly Shaw's life seems picture perfect. She's the creator of a popular food blog and is married to a dreamy heart surgeon. But after Hollis and her husband get into an argument one snowy morning, he leaves for the airport and is killed in a car accident. The cracks in Holly's perfect life, her strained marriage, and her complicated relationship with her daughter grow deeper. When Hollis hears about something called a 5-star weekend, a woman summons together her best friends, one from each phase of her life, her teenage years, her 20s, her 30s, and midlife, she decided to host her own 5-star weekend. The gathering turns out not to be a joyful Hallmark movie. The husband of Hollis's childhood friend Tatum arranges for Hollis's first love, Jack Finnegan, to drop by, stirring up old feelings. Meanwhile, Tatum is forced to play nice with Drew Ann, Hollis's abrasive and elitist best friend from UNC Chapel Hill. Drew Ann's career as a prominent sports agent is in jeopardy after her comments about a client's mental health issues are misconstrued online. Brooke, Hollis's friend from their 30s, has just discovered that her husband is having an inappropriate relationship with a woman at work. Again. And then there's Gigi, a stranger to everyone, including Hollis, who reached out to Hollis on her blog. Gigi's embodies an unusual grace and, as it happens, has many secrets. The 5-star weekend is a surprising and captivating story about friendship, love, and self-discovery set on Nantucket. It will be a weekend like no other. I'm just super excited to read about the relationship between this like women. To be honest with you, I feel like if I wanted to do a 5-star weekend for myself, I probably would just invite my aunt, my mom, and my sisters because I don't think I have a lot of friends, but I just want to see how the story unfolds. I feel like there are so many kind of like hidden secrets that this women don't really talk about like openly, so I want to see what or how the story will look like when I read through this book. I also have a few other Ellen Hilderbrand's books in my personal library, so let me know if you are a fan of Ellen Hilderbrand. Let me know which one of her books is your favorite, and maybe I will add it to my summer TBR. The next book that I have is by Rebecca Surley. I don't really know how to say her last name, but it's called The One Italian Summer. I've heard so many great things about her books. I also have one of her other books called In 5 Years, and I'm still hunting down expiration dates in paperback form somewhere online or while I'm out thrifting, but I decided to add this in my summer TBR because it has the word summer on the title of the book. This is actually kind of like a sad story in my opinion. In the beginning of the book, Katie Silver's mother dies, and Carol wasn't just her mom, she was Katie's best friend and her first phone call. Carol had all of the answers. To make matters worse, the mother-daughter trip of a lifetime looms, 2 weeks in Positano, following the very same route Carol did as a young woman. Katie had been waiting years for Carol to take her, and now suddenly she is faced with going on this adventure alone. But as soon as Katie steps foot on the Amalfi Coast, things begin to change. She's met with stunning cliffsides, incredible food, and charming hotel staff. And then the impossible happens. Carol appears for real, in the flesh, healthy and suntan and 30 years old. Katie doesn't understand what is happening or how, but over the course of her time in Italy, Katie gets to know Carol in this new form, and soon she must reconcile the mother she loved with the young woman she is meeting for the very first time. That sounds super interesting, and I feel like after I read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, I'm into this magical realism type of like theme in a book. I'm not even sure if like technically Katie is time traveling because she is seeing her mom when her mom was 30. So I cannot wait to dive into this book. It also looks like it's a pretty quick read. Hopefully I can maybe read it over a weekend or maybe over a few nights or something. I cannot wait to read this book. Again, let me know in the comment below if you have read this book or any of the other books that Rebecca Surley writes. The next book that I have is one by Tessa Bailey, and I've actually never read any of her books. And It Happened One Summer. I think this is part of kind of like a standalone series. I also already have the second one. This is about the Bellinger sisters, and this is the first book about Piper. Piper is fashionable and influential, and her reputation as a wild child means the paparazzi are constantly on her heels. When too much champagne and an out-of-control rooftop party land Piper in the slammer, her stepfather decides enough is enough, so he cuts her off and sends her and her sister to learn some responsibility running their late father's dive bar in Westport, Washington. Piper hasn't even been in Westport 5 minutes when she meets big, bearded sea captain Brendan Taggart, who thinks she won't last a week outside of Beverly Hills. So what if Piper can't do math and the idea of sleeping in a shabby apartment with bunk beds give her hives? How bad could it really be? She determined to show her stepfather and the hot grumpy local that she's more than just a pretty face. Except it is a small town, and everywhere she turns she bumps into Brendan. The fun-loving socialite and the gruff fisherman are polar opposites, but there's an undeniable attraction simmering between them. Piper doesn't want any distraction, especially feelings for a man who sails off into the sunset for weeks at a time. Yet, as she reconnects with her past and begins to feel at home in Westport, Piper starts to wonder if the cold, glamorous life she knew is what she truly wants. LA is calling her name, but Brendan and this town full of memories may have already caught her heart. I actually started reading Small Town Romance. I think Book Lovers by Emily Henry is an example of a really cute small town romance. And I think this one, I have a feeling that I might like it as well. Like I said, this is my first Tessa Bailey book that I'm adding to my TBR list. So I'm not really sure if I do like her writing style or not. But the synopsis of the book is really interesting. And I feel like all of these small town romance books that I've read so far is kind of like about polar opposites. Rich girl goes to like small town, or like rich guy goes to the small town falling in love with like the local girl or local boy. And honestly, I can't wait to read this, and I can't wait to read the second one as well. The next book that I have is also probably my first book that I am reading from this author, and it is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I actually was interested in reading Just for the Summer, which is actually the third book in this whole universe. A couple people actually said that I should read her book from the first one, which is, I believe, this book, Part of Your World. And I think this whole universe or series, I don't know if they're actually interconnected, but it's about doctors. And this one is about Alexis Montgomery. After a wild bet, gourmet grilled cheese sandwich, and cuddle with a baby goat, Alexis has had her world turned upside down. The cause? Daniel Grant, a ridiculously hot carpenter who's 10 years younger than her and as casual as they come. The complete opposite of sophisticated city girl Alexis, and yet their chemistry is undeniable. While her ultra-wealthy parents want her to carry on the family legacy of world-renowned surgeons, Alexis doesn't need glory or fame. She's fine with being a mere ER doctor, and every minute she spends with Daniel and the tight-knit town where he lives, she's discovering just what's really important. Yet letting the relationship become anything more than a short-term fling would mean turning her back on her family and giving up the opportunity to help thousands of people. Bringing Daniel into her world is impossible, and yet she cannot just give up the joy she's found with him either. With so many differences between them, how can Alexis possibly choose between her world and his? I usually don't like it too much when like the main male character is way younger than the female main character, just because in real life I don't think I would go for like a much younger guy. It's like 10 years, that's like almost a whole generation, I feel like. But I know that if I want to start reading Abby Jimenez's like work, I probably would need to start from the beginning. And I know this is not her very first debut novel, but because the one that I really want to get to is Just for the Summer, I need to start with this one. So let me know in the comment below if you have read this one, or also leave some recommendations for other Abby Jimenez's book that I should maybe add into my summer TBR. Last but not least, it's a book by Annabelle Monaghan called Summer Romance. Like I said, this is my summer TBR list, so anything with summer in the title, I feel like I have to add it to my TBR list. Let me just read a little bit from the book synopsis. Ellie Morris is a professional organizer whose own life is a mess. Her mom died 2 years ago, then her husband left, and she hasn't worn pants with a zipper in longer than she cares to remember. No one is more surprised than Allie when the first time she takes off her wedding ring and puts on pants with hardware, she meets someone. Or rather, her dog claims a man for her by peeing on him. Ethan smiles at Allie like her pants are just right, like he likes what he sees. He looks at her like she's a younger, braver version of herself. The last thing newly single mom Allie needs is to make her life messier, but there's no harm in a little summer romance. I can't wait to read this. I feel like other than Ellen Hilderbrand books that I want to read in the summer, Annabelle Monaghan's book is another one that I want to read in the summer because It has summer in the title, and also just the way her book covers look like, it just brings summer because it has blue, yellow, and orange, like very bright, very cheery. So I'm excited to read that one as well. This is gonna be the first part of my summer TBR list. I'm making it basically for June, July, August TBR, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for part 2 and part 3.